My man Jeffries was, as expected, waiting at the door to let me in, and took my top hat and gloves upon my entrance. Almost immediately the rich smells of what would soon be my midday meal wafted toward me, and I relaxed at the feeling of really, truly being home. Previously I had thought that it may take a while for me to get used to my life in England once again, but the truth was that the intervening months already were falling away, seeming now a distant memory, like some dream I had had that faded upon waking, one whose details became more and more difficult to keep track of as the real world asserted itself. Would that reality as I knew it could have continued thus after all, but no sooner were these thoughts occurring to my brain than my front door, as solid a barrier as one could hope to have in a private residence, flew off its hinges as a result of a sudden assault from without. The heavy oak slammed into the floor with a bang, and several of the oddest-looking individuals on whom I had ever laid eyes thrust themselves without invitation roughly into the entryway of my household. There were 4 of them at least. Bulky as they were and coming through a narrow doorway, I'm not certain I saw each and every one of the intruders, and the bizarreness of the event lent an unreality to the moment that makes my mental picture of it all very unreliable, and dressed in what appeared to be a dark-coloured armour of some fashion. Made up of rectangular padded segments, the armour had a distinctively military feel, though no earthly military ever wore such an ensemble. In their hands were firearms of a type never seen before, light but solid-looking with a flared tip and no noticeable store for ammunition. But the most striking thing about the intruding force, and that which caused me to become rooted to the spot in pure fear and astonishment, despite my 4 years in Her Majesty's Armed Forces serving the British Army, were their faces. Skin as green as a sour apple, with protruding visages that practically appeared more dog-like than simian in nature. Atop their vicious-looking heads was hair of a brilliant white, like the freshest snow laying at the cap of a tall mountain. I do not believe I have ever been more frightened in my life than I was at that very moment. Jeffries fled the moment they entered the house. In the lead, the largest of the brutes waved a strange handheld device in front of me. 1.5 feet in length it was, perhaps, including the handle by which he held the instrument, with the largest part being a square piece, flat like a hand mirror, with lights that blinked in sequence and with varying colours. Apparently reacting to what he saw on the face of the device, the creature pointed at me with one fat finger and barked something in a horrendous tongue that was surely unearthly in origin. 2 of the others responded in the same unusual language, and they marched forward to take hold of me. Only now did I begin to get control of my body again, but it was too little, too late, I regret to say. I decided to fight, but by the time motion returned to my limbs, they were caught in the rock-solid grip of the green-faced beasts. I could do as little to shake them as I could to budge the foundations of this mansion were I to push against them. Panic now began to set in fully as I realized something of the trouble in which I had found myself. The being with the mirror-like device stepped forward, his vile face mere inches now from my own. He growled something in that indecipherable tongue, rancid breath wafting over my face. I grimaced at the stench, then I believe I collapsed. Yes, dear listener, loath as I am to admit it, I'm afraid I fainted dead away, and I challenge any of you to argue that your reaction would be any different given the circumstances.